Those who grew up with a good father. What was the most important thing you learned from him? My dad taught me to always be kind. Kindness isn't loud. It doesn't need to be stated. It should just be inherent in everything you do. You don't have to like everyone or treat them well if they don't treat you well. But you should try to approach everyone with the same kindness you'd wish they'd give you. You are the only person you have to live with for the rest of your life. In other words, take responsibility for what you do. Learn how to move past your mistakes and realize that your actions have consequences. If it was easy, everyone would do it. If you don't know how to make things better, just listen. If you ever feel like you have a problem, just know you can live a full happy life without alcohol. He couldn't control it, and neither could I. He gave it up so he could have his son in his life. I gave it up because of his example. To kids, time equals love. To appreciate nature, the power of sitting in silence and looking at the night sky. To always make your loved ones a priority. Make it your purpose. My dad worked hard to give us a comfortable life and more opportunities than most, and after what I can only assume was a long and tiring day, the first thing he'd do was sit and watch cartoons with me and my brothers while asking us about our day. And when he was forced to quit his job and decided to start up his own company, go on for half a year without income, I can only imagine how stressful it was to be so uncertain about the future while providing for a family of 6. I was slightly young, but I never knew anything was wrong. He never let it show. And even though he worked probably 10 hours a day, he always took the time to ask me how I was doing and go to every important event with us. My dad was and is a superhero. Always will be. The next thing I'd say I learned from him was patience. Whenever he was upset with me or thought there was something up, he'd ask me about it, and wait until I was done with my side before saying anything. Really made me feel heard and less worried to tell him something even when I knew it's not what he'd like to hear. Update. Thanks for all the love. I never expected this kind of response. I think my dad would be amazed at how something so simple made a huge difference. Stay curious. My dad taught me to indulge my love for learning. Want to read a history of the Aztecs at 6 years old. He took me to the library and we got a real history book, and he helped explain what I had a hard time reading. Want help in the garage. He taught me all the tools and taught me how to clean them and oil them and how to use the monsieur. He always took me seriously and answered every question. He was my greatest teacher and my biggest defender and my rock. I lost him in 2003 and I have missed him every minute since then. How I raised my kids has a whole lot to do with how he raised me. Be kind, be polite, and saying you'll be somewhere on time means 10 minutes early. My favorite quote came from the early 2000s. He died 11 years ago. If the way this world works ever starts to make sense to you, you need to start worrying about yourself. I learned how to be selfless, how to feed everyone else before I sit down, how to enjoy taking care of someone. I learned how to grow vegetables. I learned how to fix a sink, or rig something together if I need to. I learned diplomacy and patience and practicality. I learned to pay attention to what sounds my car is making, how it feels when it turns or when I let go of the wheel. I learned resilience and perseverance. I learned that I should work hard and do the best I can every time I can, and that that's all I can do. He taught me responsibility and morals, regardless of religion or politics. He taught me how to chop parsley and cook steak, how to fry potatoes for breakfast, and how to slice tomatoes thin. My father is an immigrant, an engineer, a practical but sensitive and caring man. I wouldn't be who I am or have what I do without him. Everything I am or will be is owed to him. And my mother, who is equally magnanimous. Lefty Lucy, righty tighty, edit. Holy shit, my first award. I'll forward it to my dad. Thanks, kind stranger. My dad was in Vietnam as an infantryman. He has seen some shit. Growing up, whenever the situation called for it, he would always say, never panic. If you panic, You're dead. I always thought he was exaggerating and thought, sure thing, Dad. When I was barely 19, I was in Iraq. A rocket hit our barracks roof. The power went out. I couldn't hear shit, and there was dust and smoke in the air making it difficult to breathe and see. Then I could hear him in my head say, never panic. If you panic, you're dead. And here I am, 13 years later, married, 3 kids. I found myself telling my family after a near miss of what would have been a horrible car accident while driving home from Florida last year to never panic. Because if you panic, you're dead. Curiosity. Just being eager to learn how stuff works. In general, it doesn't have to be anything fancy. I just like to observe things and wonder things about them. Might sound banal, but a lot of people seem to lack this. I learned a lot from my dad when I was growing up. He was working in a wastewater plant when I was about 7 years old when I got the best advice I've received my whole life. I said, Dad, that's poopy, when he was cleaning a screen off, and he just looked at me and said, just remember that the shit doesn't wash off with some soap on a lot of jobs. Don't be an idiot. Changed my life. If it counts, I learned not to emotionally and physically abuse my kids from my father. Compounding interest. He taught me to love nature and animals. He taught me not to waste my time on liars and idiots. He taught me how to change a tire. He taught me unconditional love. I was a bit of a fuck-up as a teenager, and he was always there to tow my car, drive me to the airport, and give me a big hug whenever I needed it. And most of all, by the way he treated my mom. With love, respect and admiration, so that I recognized a good man when I saw one.